Good Tuesday morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by the Family Forest Carbon Program, where we help family forest owners get paid to improve the health of their woods. I'm Joe Everett. Well, currently 56 degrees outside here at the farm this morning, and rain totals here at the farm from Saturday through yesterday morning sit right around 1.8 inches in total, so it'll be a little bit before farmers can get back out in the fields, but we are going to string a few nice days of dry weather here over the next couple of days. Now let's check in with Brianna Smith for this week's Between the Rows.
It's time for another Between the Rows update, brought to you by Seed Genetics Direct. Business with a handshake, not a 3-year contract. After a slow and soggy start to the season, farmers across Ohio finally got a much-needed window of favorable weather. Planters were rolling hard last week, and many growers made significant progress. Let's check in with Jade Newton in Preble County.
Most of southwest Ohio is planted with a few outliers here and there. There's been a mix of things going on, anywhere from wrapping up planting, spot planting, putting on nitrogen, post-spraying, you name it, it's happening.
Things have also shaped up in Wayne and Holmes County, where Dale Miller says the heavy lifting is mostly behind them, except for a few trouble spots.
The high percentage of it's done at least the first time. You know, some of it's been done twice already. The few acres that's left around that'll probably get planted are either hay fields that's going to get turned over for a dairy farmer, or some really low-laying areas that typically don't get planted until late anyways.
For the full Between the Rows update, visit ohioagnet.com. For Ohio's Country Journal and Ohio AgNet, I'm Brianna Smith.
Hey, thanks, Brianna, for the update. While on the topic of planting, a quick reminder to file crop acreage reports. After spring planting is finished, producers should make an appointment with their local Farm Service Agency county office to complete crop acreage reports before the deadline. July 15th is the major deadline for most crops, but acreage reporting deadlines vary by county and crop. To ensure receipt of important safety net, disaster assistance, conservation, and crop insurance program benefits, producers should file an accurate crop acreage report for all crops and land uses, including failed acreage and prevented plant acres, before the deadline, said FSA Administrator Bill Beam. Once planting is complete, call your local FSA office to make an appointment to report your acres and take care of other FSA-related business at the same time. To file a crop acreage report, producers need to provide a number of facts, including crop type or variety and the number of crop acres. For more information, go to fsa.usda.gov. Well, Bayer executives have been warning in recent weeks that after losing billions of dollars to Roundup case settlements and jury awards, they may be ready to give up the fight and get out of the glyphosate business. In the United States, there are no broad protection for producers of pesticides, so manufacturers can comply with the federal regulatory labeling requirements and still get sued for failing to warn. Bayer CEO Bill Anderson told investors in a recent conference call. Glyphosate, introduced by Monsanto in the 1970s, is the world's most widely used herbicide chemical. While the World Organization for Animal Health recently adopted an African swine fever vaccine standard as the means to help control the disease. The agreement was reached during the organization's 92nd General Session in Paris last week. The organization feels ASF control is possible. Key elements of the new standard include that vaccines must be manufactured with the highest quality and be proven to be effective and safe for use. The organization warned that poor quality or non-compliant ASF vaccines may make the disease situation worse instead of improving it. To comply with the new standard, evidence will be required proving the vaccine's efficacy, including in terms of reducing the severity of the symptoms and further transmission of the virus. The World Organization for Animal Health says vaccination alone, even if it meets these standards, won't be enough without highest levels of biosecurity, control of animal movements, and import restrictions. The decision to vaccinate ultimately rests with veterinary authority. Stay tuned. We'll be back with today's weather after this.
If your summer road trip leads you to Ohio's farm country, be sure to share the road with Ohio's farmers. Farm machinery moves slowly, makes wide turns, and needs extra space to avoid obstacles like mailboxes and guardrails. Let's all be mindful and make sure everyone gets home safe and sound this year. This message brought to you by the Ohio AgNet, OSU Extension Ag Safety and Health Team, and this station.
So many things that can have an impact on agriculture are out of the farmer's control. Yet when the weather doesn't cooperate, markets go lower, or equipment breaks down, the farmer blames themselves. Hi, I am Nathan Brown, a Highland County farmer and a member of the Ohio Farm Bureau Board of Trustees. If you or someone you know is struggling with stress on the farm, text 4HOPE to 741-741 or go visit gotyourbackohio.org. A message from the Ohio Farm Bureau Federation.
You're tuning in on the Ohio AgNet. Today's weather brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Dry weather coming together over Ohio here today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that forecast update. We are going to be dry for today, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. 4 days back to back of dry weather. Good evaporation, so we should see decent drying. It's very humid, though. May not feel like you're drying exceptionally fast, but we will be pulling moisture out. Part of the humidity comes from evapotranspiration anyway. So we're dry all the way through Friday. Over the weekend, we get a little bit more unsettled, hit and miss scattered showers and thunderstorms for Saturday and Sunday. Combined over both days of the weekend, I think we have to put in anywhere from a quarter to 1 inch over about 90% of Ohio. We'll take a little bit of a break to start next week, Monday into Tuesday. By the time we get to Tuesday night, Wednesday, we see scattered showers and thunderstorms here. Those linger through Thursday, and we have another frontal boundary trying to come through next Friday afternoon. So plenty of moisture the later part of next week, Tuesday night through Friday. I'm going to say anywhere from a half to 2 inches with coverage at 90% of Ohio. Behind that, we dry down to start the weekend, so Saturday the 21st, probably okay. Later, Sunday the 22nd through Monday the 23rd, we have, again, more heavy rain and thunderstorm action coming in. Timely moisture is what I'm going to call it at this point, so I stay optimistic, but it's going to be hard-pressed for anybody to find a 3 or 4 day dry stretch in this weather pattern after what we're seeing here today through Friday. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Well, even with the challenges this planting season, farmers have been making great progress. Let's see how they're getting along. Coverage of the Ohio Crop Progress Report is sponsored by Unleaded 88. Save on fuel with the blue handle. Fill up with Unleaded 88. Discover more at ohiocornandwheat.org. Starting with the national numbers, 97% of the corn was planted nationwide as of Sunday. That's 3 points ahead of 94% last year and consistent with the 5-year average. As for its crop development, 87% of the corn was emerged as of Sunday. That's 4 points ahead of last year's 83% and consistent with the 5-year average. As for its crop condition, estimated that 71% of the crop was in good to excellent condition, up 2 points from 69% the previous week and 3 points behind of last year's 74%. As we turn to soybeans, an estimated 90% of the intended soybean acres were planted as of Sunday. That's 4 points ahead of last year's 86% at this time and 2 points ahead of the 5-year average of 88%. As for its crop development, 75% of the soybeans had emerged as of Sunday. That's 7 points ahead of last year's 68% and 3 points ahead of the 5-year average of 72%. As for the crop condition, estimated that 68% of the soybeans had emerged and were in good to excellent condition, up 1 point from 67% the previous week, but 4 points below 72% last year. Now taking a quick look at winter wheat, 88% of the winter wheat was headed nationwide as of Sunday. That's consistent with last year and 2 percentage points ahead of the 5-year average. As for harvest progress, harvest moved ahead 1 percentage point last week to reach 4% complete nationwide as of Sunday. As for its crop condition, an estimated 54% of the winter wheat was rated good to excellent as of June 8th, up 2 points from 52% the previous week and 7 points ahead from 47% a year ago. Now looking at your numbers for the Buckeye State, even with planting progress making great strides last week, we're still behind the historical averages. Corn planting reached 89% this past week, up from 72% the week before, but still behind the 5-year average of 94%. Corn emergence was at 68% this week compared to the 5-year average of 81%. Soybeans saw similar gains, with planting advancing to 84% complete this week, and emergence is at 58%. As for their crop condition, 58% of the corn was rated good to excellent, and 53% of the soybeans were rated good to excellent condition. As for winter wheat, it remains ahead of schedule, with 95% of the crop headed above last year's 94%. Condition ratings remain steady, with 56% of Ohio's wheat crop rated good and 11% excellent. Oat progress continues with 88% emerged and 18% headed, while 74% of the crop was rated good to excellent condition. Well, the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Coalition joined the American Carbon Alliance's monthly membership meeting to provide an important update on federal policy developments. The coalition shared the latest on the sustainable aviation fuel market, highlighting its growing role in decarbonizing the transportation sector and expanding demand for low-carbon feedstocks like corn ethanol. A major focus of the briefing was the ongoing budget reconciliation process, where Congress is negotiating the critical energy and tax provisions. The Standard Aviation Fuel Coalition emphasized that the Senate is actively making edits to the reconciliation package, a bill that includes key priorities for the biofuel and agriculture industries. These negotiations will impact the future of the 45Z clean fuel production credits, sustainable aviation fuel tax credits, and broader carbon capture incentives, all of which are vital to the success of ethanol producers in rural America. The Standard Aviation Fuel Coalition has been a strong ally to ACA and its members. Stay tuned. We'll be back with your grain analysis and your overnight markets after this.
Farmers, be safe moving from field to field this season. Keep your warning lights clean and in good working order for roadway travel. Take a few minutes to check your lights and reflectors and make sure your slow-moving vehicle emblem is visible as you share the road. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. This message provided to you by the Ohio AgNet, OSU Extension Ag Safety and Health Team, and this station.
It's now time for today's market analysis, which is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company, excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished the Monday session on a mostly lower note. Of note, we are in the midst of the wettest drought in history. That's what one farmer told me over the weekend, and you saw it unfold on Monday when the talking points on a market pullback was the fact that, well, late June central U.S. weather forecasts are definitely staying wetter, and so that's pushing off this dryness and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Long story short, everybody's talking about droughts full of it. It's not looking at any major problems right now, and most folks are still talking about maybe trend or slightly above trend line yields, at least in the western part of the Corn Belt. We still have our own problems here in the east as we continue to see wet weather cause issues down in southern parts of Indiana, southern Ohio, northern Kentucky, but it's going to be a relatively small part of the planted area. Speaking of which, as we get toward the end of the month, we're going to get that planted acreage number, and there are many out there that are wondering whether the huge corn numbers that were forecast are really going to show up or whether we're going to get something that's fairly close to a normal rotation number. In any case, before we get there, we've got the WASDE report that comes out on Thursday. Expectations are for a bump in the corn export number. This would be the third such increase in corn exports, potentially lowering old crop ending stocks down to 1.3 billion bushels and new crop down to 1.7. That's a very interesting set of numbers if they can hold, but we've got to get them first. Once again, that report comes out on Wednesday. The market's also completely unfazed yesterday by the start of U.S.-Chinese trade talks. They were happening in London. Now, this was at the deputy or staff level rather than the presidential level. Remember, Trump and Xi had a call last week, and now everybody's talking in London. So far, nothing been talked about there, and with the domestic issues and the riots or instability, I guess you would say, on the West Coast, I don't think anybody's paying attention. Maybe they pay attention here later this week or into the weekend. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's take a look at your overnight trade brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Let's start off with July corn, 433 1/4, down 1/4. December new crop corn, 438 1/4, up 1/4. July soybeans, 1061 1/4, up 5 1/4. November soybeans, 1034 1/4, up 3 1/2. July wheat, 540, down 2 cents. Now looking at livestock from yesterday's close, June live cattle, 227, up 70 cents. August live cattle, 219.25, up 37 cents. June lean hogs, $102.77, up 15 cents. July lean hogs, $107.20, up 10 cents. September feeder cattle, $310.70, up $1.57. And October feeder cattle, $308.37, up $1.47. Thanks for joining us and have a great day, everyone. I'm Joe Everett, and this is the Ohio AgNet.